All right, Odyssey 2 version 05 was released on Friday, March 11th, and I will be going over the updates, which include quite a few, so bear with me. I'll try to keep this short as possible. There have been improvements made to how simple workflows are created, including there is an extra help box at the top of the Define Your Workflow screen to provide information depending on if a printer is editing the order form answers of an existing simple workflow or creating a new simple workflow based on a copy of another one. So I have a couple tabs open up here, actually quite a few tabs. The first two tabs are related to this first bullet. I'm going to go into what I have set up already related to existing simple workflows, and I'm going to select edit conditions. I believe that's the correct one here. And at the top, there is a blue box that says set the different answers from your product order form to cover with this workflow. So if we are editing an existing workflow, at the top here, there's going to be this blue box. And if I was to go create a new simple workflow, there's a little bit different at the top here, a little bit different saying. So it's an extra help box at the top of this Define Your Workflow screen, depending on what you are doing. And actually, what I wanted to show was if I was to go and make a copy, that is what I meant to show. So if I open this up and I open up this and I would like to make a copy of this first one, there we go. Now you're creating a new simple workflow. This will be based on the one I copied from, which was called Digital 2. So this is when you copy from an existing workflow, and this is when you're going in and editing without making a copy. So it's just mentioning at the top here, it's letting you know basically when you're going through this information, whether it's a copy or not. Next bullet. Once a printer is complete with building a simple workflow, selecting the Finish button will produce a pop-up modal letting the printer know they can add it to the advanced workflow. I'll go ahead and take this copy and it'll say test for V05. And maybe we'll say it's a quantity of 2001 to 10,000. I'll leave everything selected here the same. And we'll keep going here and click Finish. And right here is that pop-up modal. There's a once I selected that Finish button, we have this pop-up modal that we can add it to the advanced workflow. And selecting Add to Advanced Workflow will automatically add the simple workflow to the advanced workflow. So I'm going to select Add to Advanced. And I'm going to go in here back to it, Flyers for MI4P. And if I pop this open, there is that third simple workflow I just created. And if I open up the main advanced workflow, oh, no, I don't want to do that today. That's okay. We'll just go back. I just wanted to show the fact that I had created that simple workflow, and that was called example for V05. All right. Moving on, selecting a simple workflow name will allow printers to view and edit the workflow. So if I close out of here, I'm not going to close out. We'll just open this up. We'll open up the advanced. And if we just select the simple workflow name, we're able to go in and edit the workflow if needed. I'm going to go back out again and drill back down to where I was. And this is just referring to the next bullets here. Hovering over icons to the right of advanced and simple workflows will provide information as to what those icons can do. So right here, we can hover over these icons. This is a workflow button, cost settings, profit settings, and you can go to the order form directly. If I pop this open, here's an advanced workflow. This is the ability to copy the workflow. You can delete it, or popping this open reveals 3 simple workflows. They as well have icons, and hovering over these icons, you can make a copy, which if you remember, I did a copy and I called it test for VO5. Clicking here will allow you to edit the conditions, and you can also delete that simple workflow. So those are the updates related to how the simple workflows are created and edited. Scrolling down here, There have been improvements in the way estimates from scratch are created, including different screens are used to define the customer, providing the estimate specifications, and building the estimate workflow. So let's close out of some of these not related to estimates. And here I have a new estimate ready to go. The first page here is the customer information, where you can go ahead and choose a customer. And then the next step, based on the bullet, is related to providing the estimate specifications. So we can just call this test for VO5. And here is the product information. What's the product name and so forth? Maybe we'll just go with, this might be a custom brochures. And we're going to give this a quantity of 1,000. And then that next step after filling out the estimate information is now where you can determine if you want to start it from scratch, if you want to copy another estimate workflow, or select a product workflow. And then kind of related to what I just did, printers are able to select the previous steps of the estimate at the top of the screen. And those are those circles at the top labeled select a customer, estimate information, and workflow details. So I can actually go back if I want to look at my customer, if I want to look at the estimate information that I had added, and I can go back to the workflow details. So a very nice feature to be able to select between these three areas now. All right, scrolling down a little bit. The customer name and email is shown in the upper right throughout the entirety of the estimate. Up here, we have the name, the email, and the phone number. If I'm going back one, same. If I go back to the very first step, same. So it's very nice that the customer information is retained throughout all of these steps. All right. When selecting an existing product workflow to be used for an estimate from scratch, the following will take place. The printer will be able to select the order form answers in order for Odyssey to choose possible product workflows based on the answers. And then the printer will be able to select from a list of eligible product workflows based on the order form answers selected in the previous modal. So let's go through an example. I'm going to say select the product workflow. And right away, this order form, or I should say, this custom estimate that I was filling out, if you recall, back here, I selected the product brochures. So I basically wanted to tell Odyssey that this estimate is a brochure. So I chose the product brochures. And now on the workflow details, if I want to select the product workflow, what Odyssey will first show me are answers related to the brochure's order form. So I can go through and select the answers that are applicable to this custom estimate. I'm just going to quick choose some of these answers here. And then we'll go and continue. And going back to the bullets here, I already selected the answers from the order form, and now I'll be shown a list of eligible workflows that were under my brochures product based on those answers that I selected. So these are all of the available brochure product workflows that kind of match or would be fair game to be used, would you say, as part of those order form answers that I chose. So I might just choose something called super simple and select that workflow. I should say select that product workflow. And it is super simple because I had just one process called digital printing. So going on, upon ordering the processes needed for an estimate, the link automatically button will link all the processes in the order they are listed. So what I'm going to do is refresh this page and choose, and actually I might, yeah, I'm just going to go through and create a new one to give you a feel for what that means about the linking automatically. So let's just go through and choose a customer here and go to the next step, and we'll just call this another test for VO5. And doesn't really matter. We'll just do a product name, call it photo books. And this customer would like to order 25 photo books. Next step. And just for simplicity of showing you what I am wanting to show you, start from scratch, and I'm just going to choose some processes for this digital or for this workflow and add to list. So now we have 4 processes as part of this custom estimate. And again, what this is saying is upon ordering the processes needed, the link automatically button will link all the processes in the order they are listed. So if we go here and I select link automatically, I will get a pop-up saying the process will be linked automatically within the selected order. I will say create workflow, and Odyssey automatically links these. I don't have to do a bunch of clicking around. Very nice feature to get these processes linked up. All right. So now one process or step that I did not do purposely here is I need to make sure if there's any post-production processes that I indicate as so. So trim press sheet to finish size and final quality check are now considered post-production processes. That will make sense for the next bullet. Upon linking the processes using that link automatically button, the last production process is automatically determined as the final product, I should say the finished product, which is the flat unfolded size. So if we go back here, here is that last production process of digital printing, and there's that indicator called final product. If I was to change the view into the card view, that same little label, final product, shows up in the digital printing process. Going on to the next bullet here, and I should say, if I was to convert that estimate to a job, that last production process showing as finished product would also show in a pending job. When editing an existing estimate workflow, such as adding or removing links or adding or removing processes, the final product is automatically predetermined. And if we go back in the same estimate and go to that list view, let's say just for sake of removing this digital printing process, I'm going to select delete. And now we want to make sure to link these guys up properly. Odyssey automatically determines that the final product is the cut parent to run size. Now, if I was to go back in and add in digital printing, you will see that Odyssey will be able to recalculate and show back digital printing. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to link up digital printing to final quality check. Get that guy done here. Hold on here. Let me show you if I remove all of the links. We want to remove these guys here. Then we're going to link automatically everything again. Odyssey automatically chose the last production process, which is digital printing, as that final flat unfolded product. So you can add and delete processes and really change up the workflow, and Odyssey will automatically recalculate that final product. All right. Okay, so we went over that one. If we keep going down, the result of production processes are now automatically selected. And what this means, in prior versions of Odyssey, printers had to set an output resource within each production process, and that is no longer needed. Odyssey will automatically fill in the result of each production process. So what that means is, in this example, again, we have 2 production processes. We have cut parent to run size and digital printing. If we open up cut parent to run size, Odyssey is automatically able to calculate the output will be a component used on the digital printing process. And also within this production process of digital printing, instead of being called an output from here on out, Odyssey is automatically able to determine the output or the result. The result of this process will be photo books. This is a component. So in production processes, Odyssey is able to automatically determine the result of those processes. The calculations that take the quantity from result of each process will be set independent of the resource. And kind of high level, without getting too deep on this, what this is referring to, and actually I have an example in one of my other, here we go, I think it's this one. Let's close out. I have another example here. This is an estimate workflow, and I'm going to pop open cut parent to run size. And I'm going to go into the media and click add calculation. Just pretend I don't have one. But if I had to add a calculation to a media, a device, a whatever, really what this is telling me is now you don't really have to think a whole lot on what to choose in the quantity from in order to add the calculation. There's going to be a drop down to pick from called result of this process. You simply choose the result of this process and then add in your calculations that are needed for this resource. This is also going to be going more towards helping, I should say, Odyssey go more towards automation of calculations. In the second to last bullet, when selecting a process within a product's simple workflow, Odyssey will retain the list view without the need for additional pop-up modals. And so I'm going to go into a product workflow under my products, and we're going to drill back down into my flyers for MI4P. Pop this open here. And what this is saying is if I go into any of the simple workflows and I want to open up a process such as cut parent to run size, there isn't an additional pop-up screen or a pop-up modal that you have to click around. Odyssey keeps everything on the same screen here where it stays or retains this list view as you pop open these resources. Again, that's one less modal, one less pop-up screen. You are staying in this list view and not taken to a different screen. And this one I kind of high level mentioned here, but when viewing an estimate or job workflow, the result of each production process will show as a label. And so what this is referring to, and let me see if I have one open here. Actually, let me go just to a pending job. And maybe we can go to brochures and open up the complex here for an example. No, that one isn't one that's done yet either. Let's find one that I know is done real quick, just to give you an example of what I'm referring to. Let's see, maybe blueprints. No, I could go to at least estimates to give you a feel for that. Let's see about this estimate real quick, because it could be a job or an estimate workflow. So here's an estimate workflow. And if we remember, it says when viewing an estimate job workflow, the result of each production process will show as a label. Well, here is that label in these two production processes. It says right here, the result will be a component, the result will be a component. So even in this view, either the card view, or if we switch to the list view, Odyssey will show us the result of each of those production processes in each of those views. Well, thank you for staying with me. If you happen to stay this long, I appreciate that. As always, if you have any questions about anything happening in Odyssey, please let us know. We'll be happy to help you out. Thank you.